Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. It's not technically a home game in Provo for the BYU Cougars, but how about this? North Carolina at BYU. This is a 9 p.m. Eastern. I guess that would be a 7 local time start. It is on ESPN Plus. Fascinating matchup, interesting matchup. Again, for people who are just joining us, we're not going to overanalyze this. We don't know who's going to play, what rotations are going to look like. I referenced it a minute ago. BYU did play an exhibition last week against Nebraska where they were just mixing and matching lineups nonstop. But if you don't think I'm going to watch this, and if you don't think we're going to talk about it right now, you, sir or ma'am, are out of your mind. First of all, BYU, listen, we know what it's about. It's about AJ DeBonsa. Best player in high school basketball. By the way, through all of the rotational stuff, actually did play quite a bit last week against Nebraska in that exhibition. 30 points for AJ DeBonsa. I think 2 things stood out in that game. One, 3-point shooting was much better. If you go back to the U19 stuff over the summer, if you remember, really struggled from behind the 3-point line. I think it was shot 11%, 14%, something like that. But I also remember saying at the time, it was I think he's going to be fine. I watched all those games. The form was fine. The shot just didn't go down. Well, 2 for 4 shooting from the 3-point line. The other thing that stands out, this dude can just go ahead and get to the free throw line anytime he wants. 8 attempts at the foul line, 8 for 8 from the free throw line. And listen, Kevin Young is known for his offense. Richie Saunders is going to be an All-American or is on track to be an All-American. Rob Wright is great. Doesn't change the fact that anytime things break down, AJ can get to the basket and AJ can get to the foul line. That is a crucial thing. Now, I think what's going to be interesting, there's a good team around him. I thought it was actually, I want to give Hubert Davis a little bit of credit. He did a press conference in the lead up to this game. He said, look, we recruited AJ. We know how good AJ is. But he's not just a great player. They have a great team around him. And I think what I'll be curious about is, one, how does Kevin Young kind of, what's the right word, deploy all of the assets on that team? And then 2, how much does he just play guys? Again, this is their second exhibition. So this is their last tune-up before they play Villanova on opening night. And so I guess my question is he playing this one more to win than the other day when they played Nebraska? Richie Saunders played quite a bit in that game. He was only 3 for 10 from 3. I expect him to be better. Rob Wright, fascinated to watch him. But I'm also fascinated to watch some of the other guys. We talked about this when the roster came together last summer. But you had a kid like Dominique Diamande who transferred from Washington. He's a high-level international player. You go on and on down the list. I thought the kid who actually looked good against Nebraska, and I'm always going to screw up his name. BYU fans, you're some of the nicest people I've ever met. I hope you forgive me for this one. Kadum Mbop, is that how we say his name? I'm so sorry to him and his family, but this was the kid who redshirted last year, enrolled midseason, double-double, 12 points, 11 rebounds in that game. Xavion Staten played quite a bit as well. And the backup point guard, who I believe is from Yugoslavia, does that sound right? I don't know. He's from somewhere in Europe, but he played quite a bit as well. So I'm curious about how things play out in this game. Again, Rob Wright not playing very many minutes in that debut last week against Nebraska. By the way, I'm looking it up really quick because I'm fascinated here. The point guard is from Austria. Is Yugoslavia even a country? I don't know. Anyway, this isn't a geography podcast. I'm sure there's one out there. Let's keep it going. Let's talk Carolina. By the way, one other thing on BYU that is worth noting as well. Kennard Davis. Heard a lot of good things about him in the offseason. He is the transfer from Southern Illinois. North Carolina. Certainly a make-or-break year for Hubert Davis. I actually will take half a second. I will give him credit for scheduling this game. I think it would have been easy for Hubert Davis, North Carolina, to just duck everybody in the preseason, in the offseason. You just think about it, it just makes sense, right? If UNC goes to Salt Lake City and they get their brains beat in and BYU is trying to win, it just starts up the cycle of negativity again around this team. And so it would have been easy to schedule, Eastern Appalachia, whatever, Tech or whatever. Like, it would have been easy to not play this game. But I give him credit for challenging his guys. And then I think, as importantly, much like BYU, much like all these teams, I'm fascinated to see North Carolina. North Carolina basically tore everything down and built it up from scratch this offseason. And I want to see how it all comes together. I think the big story, obviously, they're kind of following that Duke model of going heavy on athleticism, heavy on positional size. Remember Duke last year, basically every starter was 6'5" or bigger. North Carolina had at the time Elliot Cadeau, at the time Seth Trimble, at the time whoever, RJ Davis. Well, Seth Trimble's back, but everybody else is basically brand new. I think in the backcourt, it'll be fascinating. They are still a little bit on the small side with Seth Trimble. Kyan Evans comes in from Colorado State. But I'm also just fascinated, frankly, with the big guys. And I'm fascinated by how all of the pieces fit, because it's one thing to say we're going to go do what Duke did. Duke also had 3 future lottery picks: Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, and of course, Kaman Malawach. And then, oh, by the way, Sion James, even before he got to Duke, was a potential lottery pick. I think what's interesting for me from the North Carolina side, one, I'll give credit where it's due. Caleb Wilson is a very good player. Every single thing you hear about Caleb Wilson coming out of Chapel Hill is that he is as good as advertised, the real deal, versatile on offense, versatile on defense. There's a reason everybody wanted him in this high school class. Beyond him, I think Henry Visar is about as much of a sure bet as you can have at the center spot. It was interesting. I was watching the Arizona exhibition. Remember, they have Krivas back, and basically you couldn't have both of those guys. So Visar hits the portal. He's going to be really good. I think where I'm interested in this game is more so on the wing. North Carolina, first of all, Luka Bogovic, the 22-year-old Euro. He's here, and my understanding is he's been cleared by the NCAA, but there's still some issues with North Carolina. His academics, something. I don't know exactly what that means. Hubert Davis said he might play, he might not. North Carolina fans, I know you'll get on my butt in the chat or in the comment section, but has he been cleared by the school? Has he taken classes at the school? I'm a little bit confused on all of that, but Hubert Davis said he might play. So my guess is that he is in fact cleared. And then I think the other guys, Jonathan Powell, again, a guy that on paper looks really good, played well at West Virginia last year. We'll see if it translates. And oh, by the way, Jaden Young and Jaron Stevenson as well. I've said many times I'm a big Jaron Stevenson guy. He was at Alabama. As far as a result or a pick, again, we don't know who's going to play. We don't have a lot of details. But to me, it does feel like the story has to be BYU at home. It's their second exhibition. This is Carolina's first exhibition. Again, we don't know who's going to play. We don't know how long they're going to play. How can you not pick BYU? I think the atmosphere in Salt Lake is going to be awesome. We've talked about it since, March. We've talked about the fact that this is the most anticipated basketball season in BYU history. I'll be watching. 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 local time. Cannot wait for that one. By the way, if you are a BYU fan, we do have our Torres on BYU page for all of your late breaking BYU news.